Fantastic. So everyone I've spoke to so far has said about the relationship with Billie Jean in terms of real life, and she's so grateful that she's formed kind of friendships with all you guys as a bonus of the movie. I mean, for you as an actress, that must be amazing to have that relationship now have formed telling her story.
Just for me as a human, yeah, I just think anybody who meets Billie is sort of inspired in ways they couldn't have possibly thought of. But people are inspired to ask questions that you wouldn't believe they would have the courage to ask. We were in this room full of people, and we were at the Billie Jean King Leadership Initiative talking about this film early, like maybe a couple of weeks ago in New York, and this guy stood up and asked, he said, I really want to employ more women, but I'm honestly, I'm having a really hard time doing it. My parents run the company, and I don't feel like I have much of a say, and they're not into it. And he stood up, to his credit, and asked that question in a room full of really, really powerful women and men. And Billie gave him a great answer, and was so inclusive and so kind. It wasn't like, well, just pull your finger out your arse and put your foot down. It was she's solution based. She's a very inspiring person to be around.
One of the great things I loved about the movie, aside the story itself, was the love story between you and Emma and your characters in the movie, and that's just fantastic. I mean, was that chemistry easy to grasp between the two of you? Because I know you worked together before on Birdman.
It was very, it just felt very natural, from the beginning. It felt, even when we knew we were doing it and we were sort of texting each other before we'd started rehearsing or shooting or anything, it felt, we were both excited about it, excited, and I think there's also a sense of relief of just both of us knowing, because we knew each other enough, and then not very, very closely either. So there was enough excitement of still getting to know each other, but also the comfort of trusting someone who is your friend,
What were you saying last night about your character was there's not too much reference points for you to kind of draw back on.
Yeah.
Did that make you more apprehensive about taking on a character, or was it a little bit more freeing?
It did, actually, in the beginning. Yeah, it did. And because I have played a lot of people who existed, and there's been so much information, reams of information, that Marilyn was so elusive, and I wasn't entirely sure if the Marilyn that we were creating for this film was the Marilyn who existed in real life. It was hard for Simon, who wrote the script, to even get a hold of her. And in the beginning, I felt like we need to do a lot of work and talking, and we did. And I think, and I hope that it serves the woman who really, existed. It was difficult.
I would be asking everyone about Steve, obviously, because he's not here, but the way that he kind of inhabits this role. I mean, you would think that you're looking at Bobby Riggs in the same way that it is with Emma, with Billie Jean King. Mm-hmm. I mean, to see that from the outside, watching him kind of inhabit that character and seeing him bring this to life, it must have been great to see both of them kind of bringing them.
Well, for me, I didn't spend much time with Steve. It was watching Emma that was... after the fact, Steve does a wonderful job of showing the very scared boy behind the misogynist, which is the purpose, really, of that role. To just play him as a straight villain would be incredibly uninteresting, nor would it be anything that Dayton and Farris would be behind. So, the person who I was working most closely with was Emma, and her spirit, she'd flipped a switch, and her spirit was Billie's. Mine was Marilyn. Everybody seemed like completely different players in the room when we were making the film, and that's a really extraordinary environment to be in. It's not always like that, and it's so wonderful when that happens. But I think Emma was she's extraordinary. She did an extraordinary job.
Well, it's a great film. I wish you great success with it. Thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Nice to see you again.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey